It's the economy, stupid. Yes, that's the issue, I think, that will dominate domestic politics for the next couple of years and probably the general election itself. And I say that on the day when inflation goes up by a further 2%. The CPI is now at 9%. Interestingly, the retail price index, which is how we used to measure inflation, is showing 11%. And the last time it was there, well, let's say back in the early 1980s, interest rates were 13%. Today, they're 1%, which gives you a clue the direction in which they're going to go. I have been pretty critical for the last few nights, weeks actually, of the governor of the Bank of England, Andrew out to lunch Bailey, who's been asleep at the wheel. But it's not just him. Number 10, the government have gravely underestimated what was happening, the inflationary cycle that was beginning within the UK economy. And by the way, this is all way before the invasion of Ukraine and the price shocks we've seen in some of those commodities. Let's just take a look at Boris Johnson in October last year being asked on Sky News whether he thought inflation was a threat.
Are you worried about inflation?
And I'm very encouraged.
Are you worried about inflation?
I'm very encouraged by the growth that I'm seeing.
I understand. Are you worried about inflation?
Well, people have been worrying about inflation for a very long time. I'm looking at robust economic growth, and by the way, those fears have been unfounded.
Well, these fears have been unfounded. He made it perfectly clear that was as recently as October. So the establishment got this completely and utterly wrong way before the invasion of Ukraine. And now the government is in some trouble on this issue. You see, traditionally, we always think of a Conservative Party as being the one that wants to cut taxes, not wanting to put them up. We tend to think of the Conservative Party as running much smaller budget deficits than the Labour Party, but since 2010 they've grown hugely. And on the general economic theme, here was Boris Johnson in the Commons today.
This government is not in principle in favour of higher taxation. Of course not. But what we want to do, we don't want to put. Of course they love it. They love it, Mr. Speaker. They love putting up taxes. All this was. Don't spot. Labour meow. Labour puts up taxes. Catch me out. Labour put up taxes. What we want to do is take a sensible approach governed by the impact on investment and jobs, Mr. Speaker. And that is the test of a strong economy.
Well, you can see they are in some trouble. It's all well and good talking about jobs, but we're basically at full employment. Highest employment levels we've had for 50 years, and there are basically quite severe shortages in many parts of the economy. But here's the question. We need to have a robust debate about where we go from here, not just look back and say they've made a mess of it. And that's where, in a functioning democracy, opposition comes in. Do Labour have the answers? Let me know what you think. Farage at GBNews.uk. I really don't think they do. And one little piece of news. I spoke just before the show to a reputable private pollster who tells me that Keir Starmer's personal ratings have fallen about 15% over the course of the last month. Much of that nothing to do with economics, but to do with the fact that if you put yourself up as the paragon of model virtue and behaviour and then get dragged into difficulties over Beergate, people don't like it. So do Labour have the answers? Well, they've got one really big policy, and that is putting big taxes on the oil and gas companies. That appears short-term to have support in the opinion polls. Who knows? Maybe the Conservatives will follow it.